In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst for Panthers news and opinions, only one podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
What's up, Panther fans? It's your boy, Tony Dunn, a.k.a. The Professor. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. And I do it with my homeboys. My wheelman, Cody Lashney, the co-host of this show, producer, the man of people almost at this point. Cody Lashney, how you doing, my friend?
Tony Dunn, I'm doing wonderful, man. It's a Tuesday night. OTAs are going on. There's been a lot of discussion about, who's going to be starting at quarterback this season for the Carolina Panthers. Matt Rule spoke to the media. Sam Darnold spoke to the media. There's even rumors that Brady Christensen might be looking to play center at some point for the Carolina Panthers. Rumors of Cam Newton's imminent return. Tony Dunn, there's a surprising lot to talk about tonight on this seemingly random Tuesday night. And the thing that always remains the same is we're going to do it with the best Panther fans in all of YouTube. Our mans Drew, Alex Christmas, ATX19, Carson 1, Dan Floyd, Jeremy Clancy, Joey the Blind Panther, Esquivel, Lawrence Trevette, Matt Knows Nothing, Cardiac Cat 13, Tim Estes, Yonels, Tony Dunn, and not to it but to do it, brother. Let's roll.
Like you said, Panthers begin OTAs, and you've seen some videos of Matt Corral out there. Today we got Sam Darnold addressing his role and Matt Rule talking about the offense under Ben McAdoo. And there are even talks about Christian McCaffrey and how that special chess piece, that made man, needs to be protected and not played in the preseason again this year. That's where you get the bubble boy image today on our thumbnail. So Panthers OTAs will be the subject and the focus of the show, but there's some other things to talk about in the league. Roger Goodell is upset, or says the Pro Bowl is broken. Finally. Everybody knew that for a minute. They need to bring back that skills competition from back in the day. That would be the first thing you do, is them throwing the quarterback's throwing in that moving targets thing. I loved that when I was a kid. Yeah. Dip that football in some chalk and throw it at some targets, or throw it downfield in some buckets. So we've got all that to talk about, and call into the show at 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. You can be a part of the conversation as well. Greg, the Bat Daddy, Stat Daddy, how you doing, my friend?
Man, I'm doing better than the Hurricanes right now, I'll tell you that. But not too bad, man. It's funny, right now we got NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs all going on, and I would rather talk Carolina Panthers football at this point in time.
I know, it's crazy. It is crazy. The Hurricanes, sadly, have really been outplayed by the Rangers in this entire series. If you think about it, is that the first game, even though they won
the first game,
they won game one, but over half of that game, the Rangers dominated. You got a good goalie on them. They're just not able to win on the road right now, and so maybe they'll turn it on. It looks like this one is going to take a miracle to get back into this one. We'll see. There's still a lot of hockey left to be played. Playing the New York Rangers.
Are they
my
favored
former
to win?
team. No, the Hurricanes are favored to win, but right now the Hurricanes have just not been able to win on the road, right?
Yeah.
It's like that's why we've just won all 4 games at home. So we're on the road right now and just getting dominated. Sleepy Hurricanes. But not enough of that. We need to talk about the Carolina Panthers. We also have CK in the house, the voice that makes them moist.
What's up, boys? Hey, listen, still something to talk about for the Panthers. That's always a positive. In the midst of a lot of shitty stuff going on in the world right now, it's good to be here with you guys and talking about the team that we all probably love too much, but can't think of a better place to be spending our Tuesday nights.
Yeah, if you want to be happy, don't look at the stock market. I stopped paying up to, right here. And just before we jump in, what's funny about this is, I started this podcast because I was tired of talking politics. I as a historian, I mean, I thought, like, first of all, when you're in your late 20s, you're kind of you have a confidence about you that you understand, like, world problems, or like you think you got. At least I did. I felt, and I teach a lot of kids, you know what I'm saying? So I see that kind of confidence develop in their worldviews. And then I think as you get closer later into your late 30s, 40s, you start to either become disaffected or know that you don't know, like the old Donald Rumsfeld, you can't know what you don't know type thing. So Winston Churchill used to say that if you were in your 20s and you weren't a liberal, you didn't have a soul. And if you were in your 30s and you weren't a conservative, you didn't have a brain. So like this kind of natural evolution of your perspective. But I started the C3 Panthers podcast because I was a big, giant President Obama fan, and a lot of my family and people in my area were certainly not. And I was just arguing about things and not changing anyone's mind. I was wasting so much of my time and energy and my head space. And it was just making me a wreck. So I said this, it's like, screw it. I like to argue. I like to debate.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to use that creative energy in a way. And I said, well, screw it. There's one thing I can feel good about, and that's saying the Falcons suck. Let me start a podcast about the damn Panthers, and we'll just yell about this. And it's kind of like this, is we get to argue and debate like we are tonight over Matt Corral, Cam Newton, Sam Darnold, all of these different things. Again, be a part of the show. Let's start with OTAs. They have begun. The question is, what does OTAs actually mean? I feel like every year I come back to it and I go, oh, it's organized. Is it? Or for a long time, I thought it was optional team activities, which they are.
It is optional. Yeah, they are. And Matt Rule says it should stay that way. Off-season training activities. That's what I've always known it to be. That's what I know it to be.
Organized team activities, I've heard. Somebody Google it.
I mean, something like that. Hey, it's where all of our team gets together, but you technically don't have to be there, okay? That's what's going on right now for the Carolina Panthers. And there's been some interesting things, man. I'll pull some video up here in just a second, but we saw a lot today that Brady Christensen was giving snaps. So basically at the center position. Matt Rule, during his press conference today, said that he views Brady Christensen as someone who's going to play on the left side of the line, somewhere between left tackle, guard, and center. But it's looking right now, they plan on playing him on the interior. So that'll be very interesting to watch going forward, is this offensive line formation and just how it's going to come about. Because one of the biggest things and how this season is going to be different is the Panthers offense under the tutelage of Ben McAdoo. And if you listen to our players and their interviews today and just listen to Matt Rule, Ben McAdoo really has changed our offense from the bottom up. And they're really trying to do some different things. Yeah, which is very interesting. You hear Sam Darnold talk about it as well. Matt Corral has already spoken about it. So it really does seem like our offense has a lot of juice right now. And credit where credit's due, a lot of it seems to be because of Ben McAdoo.
Yeah, what's the official title of OTA, Greg? You're on mute.
Organized team activities.
Yeah. Okay.
So
organized team activities. Go ahead. CK.
I watched the press conference along with Cody, and the offense seems to really like what Ben McAdoo is doing on offense. Like, they seem to be talking about how it looks like it's going to be really fun. And I think that should be exciting for a couple of reasons, but I also think it's maybe not as exciting for somebody like Christian McCaffrey, who's used to getting so many of the touches. I think he isn't going to be a primary, featured piece on this. And so that's going to be an interesting thought.
Well, I think that a lot of his being the primary piece before was out of necessity too, wasn't it? Really, like they had to dump the ball. He was I think he was a last resort for a lot of plays, and he ended up being the primary target just because they had no other option.
Right. I mean, yeah, I think that's been a part of it. Is they always tell us that, and they end up reverting back to it, like you said. But I don't know. We're gonna see. I think with the running back room we have right now, it's gonna be a lot easier for them to let Christian McCaffrey, get some rest and not be the main show of the Carolina Panthers offense.
I think it's so bizarre that, well, one is that you can feel that Coach Rule has really just subcontracted the entire offense to
Right.
Ben McAdoo and the guys.
And
That's actually a good
As he
thing.
should.
That is a good thing. Is that I like when the head coach can step back and do that overarching look. Ron Rivera was pretty good at that. I felt like is that he let, when we had McDermott, when we had Wilkes, when we had North Turner but even if going back to Mike Shula, is that he was a manager of the practices, the team, the kind of leadership role. And so hopefully Matt Rule is kind of like settling into that role. It does appear that, right?
Right.
He's not known as an offensive guru, but the funny thing about it to me is this kind of concept that we've got to be such a power run team. Run. It was like about the amount of touches and power run team, smash mouth. And Ben McAdoo is not that kind of coach at all. It is going to be a lot of short, quick passes, which I think would be friendly, is going to be friendly to a Sam Darnold. The idea is that type of system, I mean, look, it really helped Eli Manning find a second wind in his own career. So there's kind of that. But you're right, is Ben McAdoo, they really have, at least from Sam Darnold's comments today, is that it's like completely new system.
Right.
And what continues to come to my mind here, and I know you're going to get mad at me. I hate receipt people, the receipt people. But one of the things I want to go back to is, boy, how in the past Joe Brady seems for us, the Wonder Boy. I almost said that. I'm glad I didn't tweet because I was like, God, where is Joe Brady? But he's with Buffalo now, of course. Everybody. You either go to Buffalo or you go to Washington. Like, you only have two choices if you're a former Carolina Panther. But what I like about the Ben McAdoo, or all of these guys, Camping, I love all of our hires, right? Is that there is an experience there. And that is what the problem with the Matt Rule team was last year. And even maybe the year before, is kind of managing the big picture, is like, how do you manage the team throughout an entire season? And that really is like when you're a teacher, it's like planning the semester out, and really having a vision of what type of rhythm you need to be in at what part and what stage. And I think that experience is going to pay off. Sam Darnold got a lot of questions today about the Ben McAdoo offense, right? How he's going to deal with it and his role going into camp. So Cody, what did you think, kind of what's on your mind most after hearing some of these interviews?
I mean, listen, after hearing some of these interviews, I think it's just, you kind of hit the nail on the head, is that, Matt Rule has kind of subcontracted all the responsibilities of this offense to Ben McAdoo and Campen. And I think that's, that's going to be important going forward, talking about a lot of different things. I believe these guys are going to have far more say-so in what the Panthers offense looks like this year, not just on the field, but from a roster perspective, deciding who gets a lot of these top spots and, necessarily the places that they intend to play all these different players. So this is some of what I was talking about earlier. You have Brady Christensen kind of getting down low in these low stances from some center spots. Deontay Brown there helping them. And it's one of those things where, we're all talking about the quarterback, right? Like, the quarterback is still the biggest concern and the biggest question mark on this football team right now. And determining who's going to be the starter is such a confusing thing for us because on one hand, we have coaches saying that this is Sam Darnold's job to lose and that Sam Darnold's going to be given the opportunity to go out there and basically redeem himself. But then hearing all these things about, the Panthers still potentially being in the market to go and get another quarterback. There's news of Cam Newton that is still out there. People are kind of reporting that it's almost, looking like it's, I don't want to say a done deal, but the Panthers are very interested in potentially bringing him back for another season. But I just want to make sure that I have my place and my stance known right now. Listen, I'm a believer in Matt Corral, man. I'm on Team Matt Corral, and I want him to win the job. I don't necessarily think that Matt Rule is going to give it to him, but with guys like Ben McAdoo and Sean Ryan, I think that if Matt Corral goes out in training camp and starts to visibly look like the better of the two quarterbacks, there should be no reason why the Panthers are hesitant to start the young guy. I'm sorry, but this narrative that you can start a player too early and forever ruin them for the course of their NFL career, that could happen, but it could have happened to Zach Wilson or Trevor Lawrence or Justin Fields last year, but they weren't afforded that same opportunity. Sometimes the best way to learn how to play NFL football is to play NFL football. I think let Matt Corral get his snaps, let him learn the hard way, and hell, it's not outside the realm of possibility that Matt Corral be able to put up a very high-powered, potent offense this year, even despite his lack of NFL knowledge.
The Canes finally put the biscuit in the basket. Thank you. Good Lord. Better late than never, I guess. Turn it on in the third period. Now let's go back to that quarterback that quarterback discussion. Is the first, what is this news? Cam Newton, we saw a report today, are interested in brining Cam Newton. Did you see that? I was like, nobody liked my pickled Cam reference. I love pickled Cam. But the Panthers are open to brining back quarterback Cameron Newton. Who is this? Who made this report? Albert Breer? Is this who it was? Yes. Albert Breer?
Let me see.
This is
Dove
Don
Kleiman.
Kleiman.
Dove Kleiman.
Dove Kleiman. Under two conditions, so per John Alexander of the Charlotte Observer, he needs to accept a smaller salary and needs to accept that he won't enter camp as the starter. And to me, as Cam Newton being my 1A favorite player, Julius Peppers, Cam Newton, right? Both kind of draft picks that changed the trajectory of our franchises in their own decade. I'm over it. I don't want Cam Newton with Carolina anymore. And not because I don't like Cam Newton, not because I really am interested in having this debate of whether or not Cam still has any left. He's not the same player he was, especially as a passer. He just, maybe I've seen him throw that. It's not like his shoulder's entirely cooked, but you can probably 17 game season, I think would be tough to see how long before you started to see that fatigue in his throwing ability. But I don't even want to argue about that anymore. What I'm just saying is I feel like the time for the Carolina Panthers and Cam Newton is past. And when I don't want to see him be the ball guy or the discussion piece all over and over. Imagine this is what would happen if you did sign Cam? There would just immediately be this incredible discussion about among Panther fans, he should be starting instead of Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold sucks, right? And this and that. And that would be a fair, actual conversation to have. But I feel like it would be a sort of distraction to a certain degree. Is that, and one of the things is Cam Newton is one of those guys where it's hard for him to be a backup. Right. And I'm saying that he can't accept being a backup, but when you got a guy who is 6'5", 240 pounds, can run and can do all the things at quarterback, who's been a former NFL MVP. And then you go put Sam Darnold in, who hasn't done shit. Of course, it's going to be like you just see that great looking man on the sideline. You know, like put that boy in, let
Right.
that run. And it's just another thing. So I would feel more comfortable. I think at this point we're kind of resided on Sam Darnold as the starter in week 1 until he loses the job. And, you know, maybe he keeps the job or loses it, and then you draft him Matt Corral, and then you go and see what you got with him. It is a lot, Cody, though, to bring that young boy in. I know you're saying you can't break a quarterback, but you can. You can put them in a situation where they're not going to be like, yeah. I mean, that doesn't mean they have the he can't do it. Not trying to say that, but it's like, and maybe Sam Darnold was potentially this type of player. Right? Yeah. I mean, did you break Sam Darnold as in a 20-year-old kid in the NFL that does have physical tools and but they're still 20. So I was thinking about this as I was in an argument with not an argument, that's the wrong words, with Mel Mayock about who is glass half full when it comes to the Panthers. And he put out this tweet about like stud defensive end, stud linebacker, stud cornerback. We have the makings of a stud defense. And I was like, who's a stud linebacker? He goes, it's dang Shaq Thompson. I was like, all right, whatever, man. Like, and he goes, well, he was playing elite before he got hurt last year. I was like, he was playing well for him. Mm-hmm. But so he was talking, we're going on with this half. Is a very optimistic view of everything, right? Mm-hmm. And what he was talking about, he's like, well, maybe Matt Rule is really good at developing players because Brian Burns has come into an elite player. Shaq Thompson is finally playing his best football. And I was like, Matt Rule, maybe this is just the natural progression of a guy becoming a veteran a little bit too, right? It's like, is that Brian Burns maybe was undersized and overwhelmed in his first year to a certain degree. And that's why Ron Rivera didn't want to put him in all the time, right? Because he is light in the ass, whatever it may be. But what I'm just trying to get to is that, like, Sam Darnold, 20 years old, go win. It's like, it's a tough, those are long odds.
All right.
Long odds.
They are long odds, but and Greg, I don't know if I'll let you go right after this. I just wanted to say this though. I feel like either let us turn the page, or let's not. Like, how many times do we as Panther fans have to go over this thing where, oh man, this is Cam Newton's last game, just for them to trot him back out there under a shorter amount of time, not giving him the necessary time to even, necessarily learn the playbooks like you would want him to be up to speed in time. And there's no guarantee that it's going to be a legitimate competition. I think our coaching staff is dead set on playing Sam Darnold, and I think they're going to give Sam Darnold every single opportunity to be successful. And you know what? If you're Sam, fine. But this guy that I have on screen, again, I know he's young, Tony. I'm not saying to have hardcore evidence that this guy is going to be able to come in right away and start. But what I know is this guy has the upper level talent. He hasn't always been in an RPO system the entire time that he was in college. So he's not as unfamiliar to NFL concepts as people try and make him out to be. And I really do think that he has really tried to have that leadership aura about him already. Him and Sam were one of the first people to arrive at OTAs today, man. I am ready for number 9. And Tony, real quick, did you know his middle name? Are you aware of what his middle name is?
No.
You want to take a guess?
Hiramato. I don't know. Like, what is that? Well, there's a big debate about his ethnicity.
How about this? What's your name?
Tony? Anthony? Is that Anthony?
It's Anthony. His name is
good.
Matt.
Oh, he's Italian too.
His name
Look at
is
this.
Matt
We've gone around.
Anthony Corral. Come on, man. This is your boy.
I love it already. No,
I'm telling
when I
you.
say there's a debate, I read on a website that he was part Japanese American, and then I can't find the website anymore. It's like disappeared. It's been redacted. And then there's another story somebody sent me that said he is like a Latino, right? He's got Hispanic.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, Anthony could be a Latin name too, but I love him. I mean, look at that. Look at the compact motion. That's a motion that wins in the NFL, that lasts, right? That's one of the things is that it lasts. If you think of even like a Cam Newton windup was a big, because he was so big, right? Is like even he had a long motion. He needed a lot of space in the pocket, stuff like this. This is something, so there are a lot of upside to it. Go ahead, Greg.
Well, I just wanted to say, with this whole starting Corral and worrying about ruining the quarterback, I just want a healthy competition between him and Sam Darnold, because I don't think that at this point in time you can worry about ruining Matt Corral. We are in the best position we've been in for a quarterback in years. I don't think anybody can argue that with the offensive line, with the defense that we have built up. On paper, we look like a really good team. This is an optimal place for a player to go to start a career instead of going to, on paper, what looks like garbage. Now, we may end up being garbage, but right now we are the best we've been in since I can remember, from the trenches out. So it's a good position for him to start in. I just don't believe in breaking him. I think that if you put any quarterback at an NFL level behind what we have on paper, they should be able to have a decent season if they're worth their salt.
Same.
Or worth their weight in salt. So
CK, you want to jump in on this?
I mean, I don't have a it's so hard to argue the let him sit of a year though. Like when you see the track record of quarterbacks that have had that happen. Now, does that mean it's a guarantee? No. And that's the part of it. Like how many people have sat a year and it didn't work out? That'd be worth looking at. But I look at so many great quarterbacks and they aren't immediate starters in this league. And I don't know the answer. I don't know that there's a right or wrong answer here, but ultimately, if I saw him in a Panthers uniform playing the starting, quarterback position before the end of the year, I don't think I'd be upset.
There is no way he can win the job in camp. And what I mean by that is like there is Sam Darnold's the type of player. Like Sam Darnold, the problem is not camp. It's not him working hard and being saying the right things and doing all of this, and showing up on time and all of that. That's never the problem. It's the games that are a problem. Right. So it's like, what can you do? If you look at the way they practice in the camp and this and that, there's like very little that he could do that would separate himself from Sam Darnold, because they both can throw the ball for, you know what I'm saying? It's really about processing the game, processing the calls, being able to recognize defenses and break down that. Those are the things that are going to ultimately be the important things for him to learn. And I think that you might not have to say sit him for a year. I don't necessarily, like maybe even to the bye week. You don't have to force anything. That's the key here. Is like I think that letting Sam Darnold start allows Sam Darnold to either keep the job or lose the job, and that takes some pressure off of Matt Corral from the beginning to sit and see how a game day is before, what is an NFL game day like? What is it like when you get to these certain pivot points or momentum points in the game, and how is the coach interacting with the starting quarterback and that I think could be the benefit of not just throwing him in from day one, because if you just throw him in from day one, what he has to do is he has to do so much. He has to learn all those developmental things kind of in the background, and he almost doesn't have time to really focus on learning defenses and this and that. It's like just keeping up. It's like when I first started teaching, I was like writing my lectures and doing all this like 15 minutes before class. Like, I mean, even no matter how hard, and you were just trying to stay one day ahead of the students, and then now since I've been teaching for 13 years, like like the game is slowed down to me. Right. And I don't have to just get through the day anymore. Now I can really think theory and all of this different stuff. And I think that would be the benefit of not having to rush him. Yeah. Right. Is that I just like Cody, how could he win the job? Like, what could he really go in and do in camp that would say, boom, we need to start him from day one?
So one, I think his deep ball accuracy would be an indicator of him being able to be ready and hit DJ and Robbie downfield. I think that would be a big time indicator. I also think his ability to get the ball out quickly under pressure. And I want to really make this clear to people. Matt Corral already has one of the tightest, fastest throwing motions that you will see from any quarterback in the NFL. It's that type of fast. It's that type of quick. It's that type of consistent, and I just feel like if you brought Cam Newton onto this team right now, it just kind of muddies the water a little bit more. Like, you have Sam Darnold that we're trying to let him rejuvenate his career. But then it's like, from a fan perspective, if Cam Newton is on this team, how long have we wanted to see Cam Newton behind a good offensive line with good receiving weapons, with the ability to run the football? Now you're not putting everything in his hands. It's like, of course, I would much rather have Cam Newton over Sam Darnold. The problem is, I just think that it muddies the water too much with him. Yeah,
agreed.
Yeah. It's like, we're either going to turn the page or we're not. We already have PJ Walker on the team. We have a talented young quarterback in Matt Corral that the fan base is really ready for and excited about. And then you have Sam Darnold, who has his final opportunity to prove what kind of player he is. I think that the Panthers technically have their quarterback situation figured out. And I think to do any more than that right now, you're just making it all that more complicated for the coaches and for the fans having to figure out what the best quarterback decision for this offense is.
Yeah, it's very simple right now, actually. And that is, you go with the idea that Matt Corral is a guy you drafted because he has potential maybe to be your starting quarterback one day. And that could be, when that day is up to be determined still. It might be farther down the road, or it might be closer than you think. But then you get Sam Darnold. The clarity there is like, look, final year of his deal. Let's just see, kind of in his fourth or fifth year as a player. Maybe he's starting to, maybe he can get more comfortable with, with Ben McAdoo or something. But then he can either give it a shot to keep and earn that job for this year, or from week to week to a certain degree. And then if he loses it, then it's simple. You know what I'm saying? Then you don't sit Sam Darnold for a week and then put Corral in and then put Sam Darnold back in. It's going to be we're going to go with Sam Darnold until we don't.
Right.
And you do add that third person. And you're right. It just makes it a weird moment to where we don't really know what we're trying to do with Corral. We don't really know what we're trying to do between the two vets. Just stick with it. Just stick with this.
Greg, what was this that you were pulled up?
Well, CK was wondering about the numbers, and I was too, because I didn't know what the numbers were on the other side of quarterbacks who didn't start as opposed to quarterbacks start. So I actually found a chart here. Now, this chart does go from 96 to 2015, so it is a little outdated, 7 years old. But I imagine the trends don't differ that much. And what it's showing is that by and large, quarterbacks that start their rookie season have a way higher win average than quarterbacks who don't start. And that's just, like I said, from 96 to 2015. I wouldn't have thought it would have been that big of a spectrum. Right. I would have thought it would have been a little bit closer, but it's a lot. It's like 11 quarterbacks who started the first 16 games average over 6 wins. And so, I mean.
Yeah. And guys, correct me if I'm wrong here, but it does not seem like it should be very hard to install an offense that Matt Corral would be very successful in. Again, it's not like we have to have an offense that has a million different checks and identifications and all these different things. Like, you brought in Dante Foreman to be that power back to take some of the load off of Christian McCaffrey. You have DJ Moore returning fresh off of a new contract. Robbie Anderson is as brash as he ever has been. Terrace Marshall Jr. We also keep on forgetting about Rashard Higgins, the receiver that the Panthers signed in the offseason as well. Like, with the type of personnel that we have, it should not be hard to make some rudimentary plays across the middle. Let Matt Corral use that incredibly fast throwing motion, get some easy completion percentages, run the football, and then use that RPOs to set up some deep shots downfield and let him meet DJ in the end zone. Like, I just feel like there's a new energy in Carolina. I mean, the more that I've done research on Matt Corral, guys, the more that I've been kicking myself, honestly, that I wasn't higher on him. Because now that I look back at some of his 2020 film, where he did play some more under center, and you see what he was able to do with Elijah Moore and some of those better receivers at Ole Miss before they left to the NFL. Like, this is an incredibly young, dynamic quarterback talent. And I just think that putting him in an offense that is successful, it's not going to take an act of Congress to put something around him that could easily see him, really putting up some big numbers early in his football career. And to be honest, and I think this is part of the reason why most of us have kind of soured on the idea of Cam Newton, because while we love Cam, everything that I just said about Matt Corral, theoretically, if Sam Darnold has bettered his game, Sam should be able to come in and do the same type of thing with that kind of talent in front of him. Right. Now, whether or not he's going to be able to do it and actually have that sustained success, I don't know. But to me, it's a perfect opportunity for both players. Sam to prove himself, and Matt Corral, he doesn't have a whole lot of competition in front of him, keeping him out of the starting job. So that should be enough incentive for both of these dudes to come out like men possessed, CK.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think, I listen, I mean, and that's why I brought up that, that premise of I don't know what it's very easy for me to want to point out the Aaron Rodgers, the Patrick Mahomes. I mean, and really a lot of the great quarterbacks that are in the league right now, right? Like, or even in the past, having sat a year behind somebody else, right? And you could make an argument and say that Dak Prescott was a starter, but he also was learning during his, behind a really good quarterback. Matt Corral isn't getting that value, right? He's not getting that benefit of the doubt. And I think a lot of these players, they do have a great quarterback ahead of them. That's why they're not starting, right? And so listen, when you see that, and I think it makes a lot of sense when you look at, the opposite side of that. I think there's a lot less people that don't start that actually have success. So I'd be interested how this works. And listen, this is another part to this as well. If Sam can take this and actually have this competition, make him into the quarterback that he was always touted to be, then I think that's something that should be valuable. I do think also that Ben McAdoo will deserve some credit, but I guess my question really would, switch to who deserves the credit if Sam Darnold comes out here and is doing well. Is it Ben McAdoo? And you're muted, Tony.
It would be offensive line. Like, really, it comes down to offensive line.
Yeah.
Even what Sam Darnold's been talking about now. What's funny is Sam Darnold came in and said that he's confident that he could be a top quarterback in the league. Then he got a lot of, the internet already making fun of that.
I defended him, by the way. It's like, what else is Sam supposed to say? Like, of course he should believe that.
Well, if
about
he doesn't
himself.
believe in himself, it ain't gonna ever happen,
for
right? You know
sure.
what I mean? Right? You shouldn't ever be like, well, I'm
Right.
hoping to just not get benched or lose the job to this 3rd round pick. I mean, you can't. You
wanna get
shouldn't
by.
say like. Not only can't say that, you shouldn't say that, even if you have fears of that, even in the back of your mind that you might not be the guy that people told you could be, or you even thought you would be one at some point. But he was talking about his footwork. It's always with the damn footwork. And why is it called footwork? Why isn't it feet work?
That's a good question.
You
I don't know.
I know it
Yeah.
sounds I know like because you don't work one foot at a time. I mean, they are in tandem. You work your feet. Just I was thinking about
why
this.
why is it called football?
Yeah, really. Why is it called football?
Well, a lot of people would argue that it shouldn't be called football because, like all the soccer people would say, you lose your feet the least.
What's a good name to call it otherwise, though? I wonder. Like if you had to rename football, what would you name it?
Oblong ball.
Tackle ball. Tackle
ball. There you
and
go.
by the way, this was Matt Corral at training camp today. This is him. Look how fast the football comes out of his hands. Zoom. I mean, the dude has an absolute howitzer. And Tony, I have a little bit of a bone to pick with you. You said after rookie minicamp he looks small. He does not look small to me, Tony. Seeing him in comparison to some of the other players and just looking at his plays again, I mean, the dude's almost 6'2". I mean, you can say that he might need to add some weight, and I would probably agree with you on that. But this guy is bigger than Drew Brees. He's bigger than Russell Wilson. He's bigger than Baker Mayfield. So, he's bigger than Kyler Murray.
You could say taller, but he does look like he hasn't grown. He doesn't have a man body. And man, and like I said, part of this again has me been changed about like I'm forever gonna compare every person to Cam Newton until someone surpasses Cam Newton as the quarterback for Carolina. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like they will always be the measuring stick. But that was the thing, is Cam Newton was like such a superb physical specimen. Like he never it's like beside offensive lineman, the kid looks small. That's all I'm saying. It's not like he's tiny or like completely undersized, but he does look young. He's got a baby face still. I mean, that's fine. He is young.
Right. My only thing I was pushing back on is, like, for example, Kyler Murray looks really little.
He looks tiny.
Yeah, and
that is ridiculous. He's ridiculous.
And by the way, so even if he's not as big as Russell Wilson physically built right now, he has the type of frame that can add more weight. And I don't think that he's undersized to play the position. Now, I'm not wanting him to, be reckless, and he is definitely going to have to learn how to slide. But this dude is tough as hell, man. He is absolutely fearless, and he is willing to step right up to an opposing defense and make all the big-time throws. And that's another thing that I've been listening to when listening to other people's evaluation of Matt Corral. The moment is not too big for him. It just isn't. He feels like he belongs there, where I feel like Sam Darnold is trying to convince himself that he's an NFL player.
Well, I hope he is. He shouldn't have gotten drafted if he wasn't. And he was one of the top quarterback prospects. Did you see the thing that came out? And I wonder where this information, how Jonathan Alexander was able to get some of this. We're going to get him back on the show soon. But did you hear him say that the Panthers were not interested in Malik Willis or Kenny Pickett at all and that the only quarterback they even thought about picking at 6 was Matt Corral. I even saw that, but it was him and Mayfield's twin from Carolina. Who's the kid from Carolina? Sam Howell. Those were the guys that Corral and Howell were the guys that the Panthers were only interested in. They had no desire on Pickett or Malik Willis.
Can we talk about how amazing, like how much Ben McAdoo will be given credit if Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, any of these guys that went early that we didn't want, and Matt Corral and Sam Howell, both come out and they just dominate the NFL. Like, how much of a freaking quarterback genius Ben McAdoo would look like? I mean, he's already got a pretty good track record, but I mean, with guys that are being picked in the third and not really being touted as really high quality, draft picks. Listen, I think that would be an incredible story. We're gonna find out. I think I'm hopeful. I think we all have some optimism. You look at a lot of the highlights. I mean, the biggest thing, and this is what I'd be interested in looking at, is the lowlights, right? Because we always get force fed the highlights. I'm ready to see what really is going to be his biggest concern, and where he's maybe even watch his worst, to 5 games. And then that way we can have an expectation of, hey, listen, stop thinking these guys are going to be perfect. And then that way it takes the pressure off of somebody like Matt Corral.
Yeah. And there was definitely enough concerns on his film. I mean, there was sometimes he would face some deep ball inaccuracies. That's something he's going to need to get better at too. But again, one of the things I do want to reiterate, though, is that you shouldn't expect to see a ton of NFL type of reads if they're in an offense that doesn't allow them to do so. There were times on film where you would see Matt Corral go from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, sometimes even back to 1, and be able to fit those balls into the tight window that's necessary. And Chris Sims is another guy who had Matt Corral rated his number 1 quarterback prospect in this year's draft. Thought he had the most speed and the best arm out of any of these quarterbacks, even over Willis. So again, we have a young prospect with all the talent, all the ability to do so. And I think that both Sam and Matt are in a good position. Like, I'm pulling for Sam Darnold, man. Like, listen, if the idea is that you want to sit Matt Corral for as long as possible, then, hey, if Sam is good, let him play up to snuff. Let him be serviceable this year.
Right.
That way he can get himself another contract with another football team, and then Matt Corral can step in and assume next year. But that's a perfect world, and I'm here to tell you that I don't have any of that kind of belief in Sam, even though I want that to happen. So it's very early. I maintain the right to change this, but I think we're going to see Matt Corral by week 3 when we play New Orleans. I really do. I think they're going to give week 1 and week 2, they're going to give Sam the benefit of the doubt. And if we lose some close games in those early 2, I very, very easily think we could be talking about Matt Corral making his home debut against New Orleans. And boy, wouldn't that be the stuff of legends, dude? Come on.
Bye week.
That long?
If Matt Corral turns out to be better than Kenny Pickett and them, just like who did he get before? Josh Allen. McAdoo had Josh Allen ranked high. He had Patrick Mahomes ranked high over when everybody else, Lamar Jackson high, when everybody else was dumping on these people.
Yeah.
The world will be ashamed. Ashamed.
Yep.
Subscriber ashamed.
Oh,
CK. It's time for the voice that makes them moist to give them what they want.
Oh, well, hello. Welcome to the Carolina Cat Chronicles C3 Panthers podcast. You've joined in. We've been going on and on about the Carolina Panthers for the past 48 minutes, and you've stayed for every second of it. Or maybe you've joined in the last 5 minutes, but still, you haven't hit that like button yet. I have one thing to say to all you motherfucking freaks. Subscriber shame.
Subscriber shame. 151 people watching, 63 thumbs up. Hit that like, hit that subscribe, hit that notification bell for every single time the C3 Panthers podcast goes live and into your life. Hey, man, if you like long-form discussions about your favorite football team, the Carolina Panthers, this is the place to be. hit that like button, like my man Trill One says. Tony Dunn, what we got next?
Well, first, I want you guys to call into the show at 252-228-5098. Give us your perspective on this discussion about Ben McAdoo, Matt Corral, and Sam Darnold, and even Cam Newton, if that's something that you're interested in talking about. You can find ways to support the show, like we said, by just being part of it, but also you can super chat. There's other monetary ways you can support the show. You can go buy a t-shirt on CarolinaCatChronicles.com. I wanted to bring up this. Oh, something off topic. Does anybody know how Big Cat's family did on the Family Feud tonight?
No, I just saw that he was on. I didn't see the show. I didn't get a chance to watch him. No.
That's kind of cool. Like, I mean, that's a fun thing. I think, like, if you could go on a show, let's put that up as a question in the chat room. What would be the game show you would want to go on? I think there's some top ones right there. I mean, for me, Jeopardy is a top one. The Price is Right has got to be a top one. Family Feud is a cool one. I think of some other ones back in the day. There used to be a bunch of good game shows back in the day. You could say Who Wants to Be a Millionaire?
Wheel of Fortune.
Suitcase. Yeah, Wheel of Fortune. My wife would dominates Wheel of Fortune. Like, she needs to go do it. And they give out a lot of money on Wheel of Fortune.
Yeah, they do.
Is that Jeopardy is like the stingiest one.
You just got to win a lot in Jeopardy is what it is.
Yeah.
If you
only
win
the first
consistently,
person, and only one person gets the money. But like on everybody's a winner on Wheel of Fortune, and
Price
like
is
you
Right
you
too,
get
basically.
you only get $1,000 for being in second place on Wheel of Fortune or something like that. I mean, on Jeopardy, but like on Wheel of Fortune, you get more money.
I think you get what you earned, right?
Yeah,
I
think so.
If it were still around, it would be Deal or No Deal.
Yeah, that's a damn.
Is that the
yeah,
case?
I agree. Yeah,
It's a good
deal or
show.
no
Is
deal.
that the briefcases with the hot girls?
Yeah.
I mean, that is still around, isn't it? Doesn't Wayne Brady do that?
No, now Netflix has a show called Bullshit, and
Yes,
you
I saw that one
basically
too.
have to convince everyone else that you know the answer, even if you got it wrong. Like, you have
Actually
to
pretty
convince
fun.
them that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
it is.
Celebrity Squares.
Yeah, but
Isn't that how Celebrity Squares worked? Do you remember where they
don't
would
know.
say something and
like
like you
tic-tac-toe.
either voted for
Yeah.
their answer or not, as in you
But
thought that was like the
This
right
is a
answer. There's a
different.
great Gilbert Gottfried
Yes,
one
I love
where they
that-
went
that
like
clip.
7 times getting it wrong.
The difference here with this one is that it is the like, so the people that you're trying to fool, if you're trying to fool the people that are there's 3 people you're trying to fool, and if you fool them or if you get the answer right, then you move on. So you can you get the next that it's sort of like Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. You get the next tier of money. And so now the reason that the other people are trying to guess, like if they guess that you're full of shit and they say bullshit and you didn't know the answer to the question, then you get eliminated. And whoever had the best the best guess percentage of whether it was bullshit or not gets to be the next contestant.
If you're able to guess how many times it was bullshit, and you basically have to trick one person. You have to get one person to believe you're lying of bullshit if you got the question wrong.
Right.
It's almost like Among Us, to be truly honest with you. It's like the same kind of premise as that,
Right.
Yeah.
Greg, what would you go on? I got some good old school ones too to bring up.
I mean, I go classics, man. I go Price is Right, Wheel of Fortune, and Jeopardy. To be honest with you,
It would be really fun for us all to go on the Price is Right together.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like where you got the crowd. Like back in the day, it was so awesome. With who was the Bob Barker, right? That was like the golden.
Right, yeah.
How about Press Your Luck? Do you remember that one? The no whammies, no whammies, no whammies. The guy with the little
they've redone that show like 15 times.
Really?
I'd go on Wipeout.
Here is the number one you got to go on. A Double Dare.
Yeah.
When we were
Definitely.
kids, like that
Belvedere
was
would be
like the
great.
coolest. Like I
That'd be
would
great.
still go on that right now. Like, oh,
Hey,
wait, I
do
gotta
y'all-
go.
That's why I said go on Wipeout. It's like the
Dude,
adult version of Double
Isaac,
Dare.
Yeah.
Isaac, thank you. Do y'all remember this show, Most Extreme
Oh my
Elimination Champ?
god.
MXC, dude. It was an old Japanese game show, like kind of
That
like
was
Ninja
Spike, I think.
Warrior, but way before. And it was just these people. They would do this obstacle course, and they would eat shit, dude. They would do nothing but fall and break their ribs and all this other crap. But they used to have voiceovers because it was in Japanese.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. So they would do
it was like all
voiceovers to
comedic
the
and stuff
people.
like that. Yeah, that one was
Dude,
super fun.
It
There is
was
one I
the
saw
best show
recently.
ever, man.
I
They
feel like
tried
it's
to
a show
do
you
some
couldn't do
reboot.
today, though. Like with the climate the world is in.
Yeah, probably.
What about
They
American
had some
Gladiators?
reboots of that American Ninja Warrior that have come along, and I saw this
Yeah.
one day where you had to like try to run across
Legends.
this bridge, but you like it wasn't a bridge, like it just, but there were these doors that people stood behind, and like as you ran by, open the door and just you would just eat. Like I mean, sometimes it would just miss you or something, but sometimes they would just smash. You would see this old guy get knocked out. Another fun one would be cool. I don't think I got the chops for it though. American Gladiator back in the day. Was
Yes.
awesome.
Oh,
100%.
I want to totally do that
100%.
tennis ball war.
I know, dude. That's what I was thinking just now.
But like,
that's the
see,
only thing I remember.
See, Ken, I know you're a 90s kid like me, right? Legends of the Hidden Temple. That was a
That was a fun
big
game.
time show. Dude, remember Guts? They had the aggro crag.
That was like the
They had-
junior American Gladiators.
Yeah, man. They had global Guts. They would bring in a kid from like different parts of the world to compete in the show. Damn, man. We just started
All right.
reminiscing hard, yo.
Why are we not
what else
putting
is
names
good?
in for this shit? Like, why are we not putting our names down to try to get it? Like, hey, listen, we're a podcast family. Let's do
But
it.
let's figure one out.
I had a friend that went on Jeopardy when in graduate school. My buddy Wilson York went on Jeopardy and slayed it, dude. Like he lost by $3 with 30,000. With 30, I mean, he did the
Dang.
full final Jeopardy, everything, and the guy ahead of him knew exactly how much he needed to get as well. But just kill. And so we both had the same mentor, like our thesis advisor. And a good friend of ours, Carl Swanson, and I called Carl up. This is like when you still had to watch TV. You know, man, this was 08. So, man, it was like I called him up and I go, did you see Wilson? He killed it, man. He did awesome. And our thesis advisor was such a good mentor, but very conservative with compliments. Like when you got a compliment from him, you held on to it like a baby. And he just loved it and enjoyed it. And he goes, and so the first thing, Wilson goes and kills it, dude. And it's like awesome. I was like, man, I would have never done this great. He goes, yeah, he really blew that Golden Globes category. That was like his first comment with a big criticism about his performance. I was just like, typical Carl. Yeah, it's so if you've known somebody who's been on a game show, that was cool. We know somebody. There's a Panther YouTuber. The Big Cat was on his whole family. I think Family Feud is a cool one. That is a cool one. That would be a really fun game. Like if we could, that's what we need to do. We should have, maybe
Battle
we
of
could do
Podcast.
a podcast Family Feud where we do our own against another podcast.
Oh, that would be dope.
Where it's us versus the other podcast.
It's not a bad idea, to be truly honest with you. I bet if you wrote them, that'd be a good idea.
In the off season to have some fun. All right. So what else is on the docket of football talk before we get into the calls? I'm trying to think really, I don't even know what else is going on. Other OTAs are going on. Oh, Jimmy G's still in the conversation of being traded. So we were talking about Cam, not for real necessarily to the Panthers.
Yeah.
Sideshow Rob, that's great. Pat Coltrane would be a great host. He would be a good game show host.
Oh yeah, dude, he was awesome the last time that we did something with him. He was like the debate moderator for us in PNP.
Yeah. So what else is there? going on with the Panthers. We've talked a little bit about the Cam and Matt Corral, Ben McAdoo. Oh, I got one thing I want to talk about is I'm rooting, like you said. I mean, I'm rooting for Sam Darnold and Matt Rule at this point. Like I'm trying to put my negativity away now, and we're starting with not a clean slate. I'm not forgetting the past. I'm not being naive about my criticisms of the past, but like, hey, I'm not rooting for failure of these guys. You know, I want them to prove what last year was wrong, was not their best version, right? Because after year one with Matt Rule, I didn't think it was as bad. Last year, I thought, oh God, everything. And really is him having to redo his staff, I think, showed you how bad it really was behind the scenes. But he looks more relaxed to me. He doesn't look like he's about to fall apart right now.
Right.
And maybe that's just because, like, you're on the football field. This is where he does well, where he gets to go around and pat the guys on the shoulder pads or whatever and, you know, buddy up beside him. Like, that's kind of that's his lane. You know what I'm saying? Like, this guy that is, like, sort of likable, I think, on a small scale interaction. You know, is like if you went to a party with him, he would just like never be the dude that was just completely disliked in a conversation. You might get tired of him after a while, but he doesn't look so completely stressed. And it might be the time of the year. It might be that, you know, like when else are you going to be like, this is the least stressful part of the year, but he looks a little thinner in the face. A little bit more relaxed, I thought. Not like towards the end of last year, man, it was just like this. It just looked bad. It was just like hard to listen to him, hard to look at him. What do you think about his demeanor? Have you guys noticed anything?
I hadn't really been paying attention.
Okay. Maybe I'm just trying to figure out
about Matt Rule.
Yeah, like just kind of the face. Almost
he
always you can read it.
Yeah, and I noticed that too, man. He doesn't. I don't know if I'm reading too much into this, but he doesn't seem happy to be here. I kind of feel like he thought the NFL was going to be one thing, and then it turned out to be something kind of different. I think also, you know how there was that time last year when apparently his family couldn't go to Hornets games without people booing him. Like, I just wonder if he's soured on this whole thing, and now he's just desperately trying to piece it together with the right coaching staff, with the right players. I mean, I don't know. Like, I have no doubt that the man wants to be successful. But you're right, Tony. When I watch his press conferences, you know, I don't see a happy, excited, full of energy.
No, I'm saying the opposite. I'm saying the opposite. He looks relaxed, like more relaxed now than he did 6 months ago.
I don't get that from him.
Maybe he's taking the advice and he's realizing that coming in, like maybe it's a combination of both. Like he realized coming in, it wasn't what he thought it was going to be, and he's finally making the turn to do what people that have been successful have told him he need to be doing, and maybe he is more relaxed because of that.
Yeah, I think it is, and I think it's got to do too with him settling into maybe being humbled a bit to where now you're giving Scott Fitterer more. Like, you let Scott do his job. You let these guys do their job, and then you just go be the head coach, and you do that job first. Get good at that before we start thinking about how you should be the running the whole franchise. Right. So, any other Panther news that's going down? J.C. Horn addressed the media, talked about how he was in the rehab room a lot and trying to get stronger, get better, and in that time. Hung out with Stephon Gilmore, right? And that was a lot of the things that a lot of people that was one of the big, I guess, positives of Stephon Gilmore was seeing him as a mentor to J.C. Horn. Both South Carolina kids too, right? Both went to South Carolina.
Yeah, both went to South Carolina. And he also
talked with him about some film. They watched some film together and some things like that.
Yeah. I also he talked about Steve Wilkes and how much he thinks Steve Wilkes is going to help his game and how he plays and just being a field general in the backfield. Jeremy Chin also went up to the podium today talking about how he intends to be more of that full-time safety role this year as a part to being a linebacker, like he's kind of been for us in recent history. I feel like everyone is finally starting to settle into their roles now, Tony. I even been thinking about this defensive line. I'm not even necessarily as worried about our pass rush anymore. I think that when you add your Turgos Matos, Marquise Haynes, Barno now, I think that with those guys in rotation, and Frankie Louvu to that as well, we might be able to, even if it's not exactly making up for what we lost in Hassan Reddick, I think we have guys that will be able to come close. And another thing I wanted to mention too, that we don't talk about enough when mentioning Hassan Reddick leaving the defense. How many times have we talked about Brian Burns and his near misses, right? He could have easily had 15 sacks last year.
Mm-hmm.
If Brian Burns takes another step forward, he can still be that shutdown premier pass rusher that the Panthers drafted him to be.
Mm-hmm.
So if he takes another step forward and the right side is that kind of pass rush by committee type of look, I feel like our defense has the potential to really come out humming this year, just like we did last year, if not better.
I think I heard too that Xavier Woods was not at just had a child. Xavier Woods and one other player both had children this past week. Who was the other one? So they were not at workouts. Oh, I saw Robbie wasn't there. Somebody put that in the chat.
Yeah, Robbie and Cam Irving.
Yeah, Cam Irving, that's the one. He had a kid too. So it was Irving and Xavier Woods
Robbie,
that were there for family reasons. Let's actually check in on Robbie Anderson. Let's see what's going on on the Robbie Anderson translator.
I cannot
by the
believe you
way,
didn't show up. That's
you never fully told me what your pirate radio buddy thought of my
he thought your take is idiotic.
It isn't. It isn't at all.
Your Matt Corral over
Matt Corral, Bryce Young.
Yeah.
It's not at all.
Man, Robbie Anderson deleted a tweet.
Yeah. And it was something about when it rains.
But we do have
when it rains.
The translation to whatever tweet was deleted was, the rain today made me rest very well today. I worked really hard this week as always. That was the Robbie to English. You can find Robbie to English on Twitter. Here we go. This is had to fall back. You know how that go. We only speaking briefly. Robbie Anderson translator at Robbie to English says, I had to take distance respectfully. You understand how that goes, though. We were only talking momentarily. I think we may have even read that one in the past. So you guys go follow Robbie Anderson, Robbie to English. One day I'm gonna try to, this season coming up maybe, or sometime as we go forward into the summer. Do you guys remember on David Letterman when they used to go talk to Rupert? He was the sandwich guy downstairs, and they would have him like read off stuff and things like. So maybe we can get a little cameo of Robbie to English. You got to wonder, is like, what is the role of Terrace Marshall Jr. going forward now? And Robbie has become the opposite of what he was in the first season. Is like the likable guy that kind of brought a sort of levity in a way to the situation, that had a good relationship, it seemed like, with the coaching staff. Then he goes and sits out after having 1,000-yard year and like hard balls the negotiation, which was smart on his part, very smart on his part. But think about this is why I always like don't fault the players for this, is because then he goes and has a cruddy season the next year, and if that would have happened and he wouldn't have gotten paid, he wouldn't have gotten paid. Right. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you gotta kind of strike when the iron's hot. But now he's become this kind of I just wonder what the coaching staff thinks about his fit in Carolina. The fan base is starting to get annoyed with him. I don't feel like, it's not like that. Oh, what's that bear doing? We don't get that anymore. Now it's like people are arguing with him on the internet. So I think that is, if we miss any news, we'll go into some calls and we'll try to kind of pick apart the discussion as we go through the calls. The number's 252-228-5098. Let's jump into the first cat call.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hey, what's good, fellas? It's Corey calling in. I'm in the middle of listening to the last Tuesday show, and I'm on this Troy Pride segment y'all on. And Cody, you my dog. I love you, take. I'm on your head this week, man. You got to ice up for this Troy Pride take, man, and not because.
How?
Let me go ahead and get this out the way right now. I'm in the same boat as you are with Troy Pride. I feel like as any other Panthers fan would be with Troy Pride. Like, I really don't care. He wasn't a difference maker for this defense. He got stuck. We're not going to miss him next year. I don't think he had any untapped potential or anything that we're going to miss, or we're going to look down the line and see, damn, we should have gave Troy Pride more opportunities. But Cody, I gotta ice you up for this, man. You can't sit here and be so dismissive of a 4th round pick in Troy Pride. And I say it like this, man. If next week the Panthers end up cutting Shy Smith or Deontay Brown, your ass would be up on this podcast having a fit, man. And you know it. Tony knows it. Everybody knows it, man. We can't have these players that you just latch onto and you want to cape for that haven't done anything for this team, and then just be so dismissive on Troy Pride, man. Like,
there's a reason to cape for him.
Dismissive on Troy Pride last offseason. I remember you guys having a conversation, and you were like, "Nah, he's a bum. He's a 4th round pick. If he makes the team, it's it's going to be the best case scenario for him." It's like, all right, cool, understand that, but yeah, don't get up on here every week telling me how Deontay Brown is poised to be our next starting guard, and Shy Smith could be.
I know.
No, bro, he's a late
right.
round pick.
Just
like Troy Pride was a late round pick, and these dudes have not done anything in the league, just like he hasn't done anything in the league, man. Same for C.J. Henderson. C.J. Henderson, I got a bad place in my heart for C.J. Henderson. He's a bum. He's a 1st round pick that got traded after his rookie year by a trash organization, man. Not even a 1st round pick. We talk about a top 10 pick. A top 10 pick who, yes, he's been injured and he's been on learning different defenses, but he's got 2 years in the league and nothing to show for it. He's got the same stats as Troy Pride, and he was a top 10 pick. So, I don't want to hear like that we're not gonna miss this guy, but it's like
we're not.
These guys are all on the same level, man. We weren't a good team, and a lot of these guys couldn't even get playing time on a bad team. So, like, these guys all are ass until proven otherwise. I guess that's really my main point of it, man. But hopefully, it didn't get too lost in what I was trying to say. But like I said, man, love everything y'all do. Appreciate the content. Y'all keep coming up, man. Keep pounding.
Keep pounding. Can I tell you, you're muted? Can I tell you the difference between Deontay Brown, Shy Smith, and Troy Pride? Troy Pride was given an opportunity. Troy Pride had a number of different starts for the Carolina Panthers and never wowed anyone. In fact, there was times when Troy Pride was the reason why the play was busted, because the man was just in busted coverage, not doing his job. I mean, I'm not hating on Troy Pride, but we haven't even seen Deontay given a real opportunity to be a starter on the offensive line like others have been given the opportunity. Shy Smith dealt with a bunch of injuries last year.
Oh,
in his
stop.
first year.
You just want
there
Shy
is a
Smith
difference.
to be good. You just want. Here's the thing: is Shy Smith look? Now, we're not trying to say he stinks, but you can't look at Troy Pride as more accomplished player than Shy Smith is. And and they're both right. They're both flyers. Like, they're all flyers. They're not supposed to. In fact, here's the thing: is that what's strange is you said it's a 4th round pick in the show last week. Who cares? And the irony of that is that you're so high on Matt Corral, and he's a 3rd round pick.
But
My
again,
point is this. It's like here. It's like you just want Shi Smith to be awesome. It's like like you just want him to be awesome. We don't know. I don't know.
I want him to get an opportunity to have one season
don't.
healthy before we dismiss him.
I want Terrace Marshall Jr. to do something. I don't care about no Shi Smith.
Yeah, we want both of them. But we're talking about Troy Pride. Troy Pride is the player who I don't give a shit about because he had the opportunity to actually prove himself to be on this football team.
He was
and
put in a tough
ultimately,
position.
we upgraded past him. There's a reason
he was our
why
number
Deontay
one
Brown
corner.
And
He was
Smith
our
are
number
still
one
on the
corner as a
team.
rookie and like a late round pick. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, that's
That
like
means nothing.
No, what I'm saying is that when I say number, that's a tough position. It is the old Ben Wickery argument to me, is that they put Ben in a situation that was like destined for failure, right? It's like you shouldn't be, if you're an under talented player trying to scrap in to make the roster, you shouldn't be going against Julio. That was my point.
They put him in
I
a
just think
position
it's
to lose.
It's Troy Pride. I think it's just like easy to shit on him. That's it.
My
That's all
only
I'm saying.
point is that there is fine. Say what you want. There is still reason to be more hopeful about Deontay Brown and Shi Smith than there ever was with Troy Pride. And I'm going to stay on that.
All right. The number's 252-228-5098.
Hey guys, it's me, Connor. And so, I'm calling in tonight, so it's pretty dry, honestly. I mean, the NFL has been pretty dry lately for the Panthers. And so I'm just calling in because I want to hear you guys talk about, and what is your opinion on us making one more big, if we make one more big move this offseason, whether it be trade, free agency, anything, what would you guys want that move to be? If it could be your dream scenario move, however, I would like for it to be realistic, like nothing like us bringing in Patrick Mahomes for the next 37 first round picks that we have. But yeah, let me know what your thoughts are, guys. I'd love to hear your opinion on what your dream move would be for us to finish off the off.
It's simple. There's only one. Well, there's two answers to this question. I think there's two answers. This is not my first one. I'm gonna give you B first. Would be a linebacker. Like go get a linebacker that has some gas in the tank that could be an upgrade right away, like maybe a trade for kind of a Levante David addition. Now, I know I'm not saying Levante, but I'm just trying to think of a guy who is like a vet now, who's not in the twilight of their career. You know, that could be like a primetime addition. That would be cool. Primetime linebacker with a team. And I don't know who that player would be, right? But I think the answer is a tight end. Like, I mean, think about this. Is right now you went and got your left tackle. You went and got you have your right tackle. Like, I mean, you're not going to go and trade and get like the anchor. That's not going to help you because you got a quantity. You know, you think you got those things. You went and made some additions and some positive upgrades at center and guard, right, with Bozeman and Corbett. You really think now we're starting to feel like, hey, that there is going to be some depth on this offensive line. Man, we really, hopefully, are going to see an offensive line that was really just atrocious in talent, right? Go from a talentless offensive line to potentially a very talented offensive line. So you see that jump. So what you could use is like, I mean, I don't even know if it's not a wide receiver, right? You got DJ, right? I mean, it's not a Odell Beckham Jr. really doesn't help us a ton, I don't think. You know, that type of player, but I think a badass tight end would help.
Yes.
Yeah, but like, you know, I'm on this youth movement. You know, I want to see Tommy Tremble. You know, I mean, maybe.
Well, you could still see him. You could still see him. I'm not saying that. It's like the problem is right now you have Ian Thomas and Tommy Tremble. Imagine Tommy Tremble and I'm trying to think of a player that would be close, like somebody a tier under Gesicki, a tier under who's that, like Oakland tight end that's awesome.
Waller.
Yeah. Like,
Or like maybe like
I
a
know
Mark Andrews, Baltimore.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. That would, I think, be a big Tyler Higbee set, like that type of thing.
Yeah.
I think that's my answer.
I agree.
I don't even really know who all the big name free agents available are.
I don't know if there are any
You're
big name
probably
free
thinking
agents.
not free agent at this point. You're probably thinking acquisition through a trade, or else it's just going to be kind of lateral.
You don't,
or else nothing exciting as it is.
Do we not think Trimble has the option? I mean, the potential. I mean, a lot of these tight ends have been that you see as great tight ends have been drafted in the later rounds. So I mean, I think he has the potential to still come out here and be a very good tight end, especially now that there's going to be an offense that's designed to get them the ball more frequently than in the past 2 or 3 years.
I hope that he works out, and I'd love to give him a chance because I mean he has a superhero name, like like Tommy Tremble. That's right out of a comic book, So I hope the guy works out. But I agree with Tony. I think that's the position we need to focus on next, because every team that takes it to the next level that's consistent every year with being a tender has a knockout tight end.
And I do think he has that potential, CK, but I also thought Ian Thomas had that potential at one point. After his rookie year, Ian Thomas goes out there and catches 400 yards or whatever and had 2 touchdowns or something. Man, we're like, oh, man, Ian Thomas is about to be – and, Ian Thomas is the brand, according to Matt Rule. Matt Rule loves some Ian Thomas. But I'm saying, like, in addition, like, it would not have hurt to put the Jeremy Shockey beside the Greg Olsen.
Right.
I mean, like, what else? I just don't know. I mean, like, adding a running back doesn't, like, what position group would really have? We think our secondary is pretty good, right? We think our receiving group, for the most part, I mean, maybe a big body receiver, but that's what you have.
Terrace Marshall.
That's what I mean, so, like, really, where would be a guy that would be on the field a lot and also not take away from the productivity of somebody else, right? It's like, I think if we added a higher end tight end, that wouldn't necessarily negate Trimble's development or role in the offense.
I think it
would just add.
It could. You're right. But I mean, there's plenty of examples of dual tight end threats. And even if you only bring a guy in and only have him bring in a veteran who's still got some gas left in the tank and have him come in for a few years and teach the Tommy Tremble a little better, maybe that helps him. That's the same kind of concept with sitting a quarterback, but the difference there is that tight end can still get play time if he's sitting behind a veteran, which is where I think that works a little better in that situation. But I'll tell you what, if I'm hoping for him. If he comes out next year and has a great season, I'll buy a Tommy Tremble jersey. How about that?
Hell yeah.
Oh, I know. I'm thinking about going. That's another good question. What jersey do you want? I'm thinking about stepping out in bold and Matt Corral in it.
That's what I want.
I'm thinking JC Horn right now.
Yeah,
I like JC Horn right now.
Who else would be a good jersey?
Right?
Chin.
Chin
would be is a great one to buy.
Yeah.
To me, it's Matt Corral and JC Horn. Those are the ones.
Or you could just go Icky.
Yeah, that's a good one too, man.
Trimble, though, is good. Just the name alone, like you said. I'm trembling.
Yeah.
That's what we used to. Every time he caught the ball, me and my boy would go, we're trembling.
I'd love to have a Brian Burns jersey. I really would. Like I said, I really hope he just needs to take a little step, just a little step, and he's going to be one of the best in the league.
Well, the key with buying a jersey, too, is to get a good shelf life on that jersey. So they either have to have just signed a big deal or be on that rookie contract. So that helps you. So you're safe with a JC Horn. You're safe with an Icky. You're safe with, like, maybe even a Trimble, because you're going to get 2 or 3 more years. Burns, we're inching towards safe now because they have said they want to make it a priority.
Mm-hmm.
But before this past season, you could have been like, man, he might not be a Panther in the future. Like, I mean, he might hit free agency, and then that would stink. So,
no.
All right, let's keep going through with the calls. 252-228-5098.
Hey, thank you, Link. Haven't called in a while. Dealing with selling a house and all the stuff that goes with it.
We'll wait until you have to move.
Any calls since before the draft? Love the draft. Everyone keeps saying we need to bring a veteran quarterback, because we need to push Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold already knows he's up against the wall with basically a loaded gun to his head. He has to perform or he's out. It's happened in the past where rookie quarterbacks have pushed the incumbent out the door or to the point where it pushed him in training camp to be better. Alex Smith and Patrick Mahomes showed up. You got Dak Prescott time with Tony Romo, how he was pushing Tony Romo, and then Tony Romo goes, okay, we're fine, we're good, boom, good. Tom Brady, of course, is the famous case. But I do think that we don't need to bring anyone else. It's not wasting money. And let's just ride with Sam Darnold, see what he can do with his offensive line that's actually worth something. I mean, come on. This is the best offensive line we've had since probably 2012. If not before that.
Hopefully.
So we'll see. We'll see. After what we're doing right now, all Rob Hill singing. Oogle. But that's all I got. I want to hear what you guys think. Do you think middle linebacker? I think is my biggest question. Other than that, I think we're good. Keep pounding.
Keep pound.
Yeah,
I mean, go ahead, Greg.
I was good.
I thought I heard you say something.
Sorry.
I mean, I like what you said about our offensive line. Potentially being as good as it's been in a very long time. He said 20 years. I don't know. One of the things I will say, Tony, that gives me pause about listening to Matt Rule today is he continued to mention the names Pat Elflein and Michael Jordan as names that could be starting guards for us this year. And it's just so disheartening, man. And I don't know
Jordan
if that
wasn't that terrible. He was not.
I felt like he wasn't good either.
Child. No, I mean, but he was one of those guys that was, I think, an undrafted free agent, or you know what I mean? Like, again, one of these types of players that if they are okay, that is better than you expected them to be.
Right.
And it's kind of hard. It was the other guys. There was a couple of other bums on that line. But you're right. Man, if we see like F1 is like, ugh.
Yeah, it's like, what have we been doing, man? Why do we never advance? Why do we never evolve into the next version of what this offensive line is supposed to look like? That's where Matt Rule, being the coach, is still terrifying. Right. Seeing how bad this offensive line was mismanaged last year, and then it's like we're basically hoping that James Campen and Ben McAdoo have enough sway in this organization to stop him from making terrible.
I think they do.
Decisions.
I think Rule has to respect their pedigree at this point. And here is the thing that was problematic. We went through, do you remember about, 3/4 of the way through the season last year, we spent maybe 45 minutes doing a show about the lack of NFL experience on the coaching staff. And we dug into the deep assistants, like even the assistants of the assistants, and they didn't have any experience. I think part of the reason that Matt Rule developed the staff that lacked NFL experience is because he was a college coach, and his ties, the people he knew to call, right? Like he could pick up the phone and call these dudes. He didn't know those guys. Wait, was he going to call Tom Coughlin up and be like, can you refer me to somebody? And that was, but him being an NFL coach for 2 years gave him access to the NFL group. Mm-hmm. And now he got NFL coaches. And yeah, I think so. I think that if anything, I'm starting to I think McAdoo is the reason we picked Matt Corral. I think McAdoo's the reason we didn't pick Kenny Pickett.
Man. Can you imagine how terrible it would have been if Matt Rule had just had the reins of this organization? Still.
I don't know. Yeah, man. Well, we don't know how much is going, but it does seem like there was less pressure on Rule to be the decision maker on these things. And so that's a good thing. I mean, these are good things, but like you cannot tell me that he's not going to disregard Campen. Campen's got more NFL success than he does.
Yeah, far more.
You know, so I mean,
does
the
McAdoo.
thing is like and so we have to have faith that those guys, their experience at the NFL level will prevent us from just playing players because we like their coachability or whatever it is. The harder they get coached, the harder we got to coach thing. You know, is that it feels like this is McAdoo is going to pick the right guy, like is going to be helpful to these quarterbacks. I think that Campen's going to be helpful. I think we see the special teams take a big. That's what I'm really excited about.
Mm-hmm.
That Chris Tabor guy. He's got 15 years of being a special teams coordinator. And that's important. That's important to have had the job for that long in the NFL. That's a big accomplishment. The number is 252-228-5098. Let's go on with the next call.
Hey, this is White Chocolate Espresso here from Charleston, South Carolina. Tony, what's going on with our Hurricanes?
I know.
What's going on with our boys right now? I mean, I don't know what's going on. This is the worst period of hockey I've ever seen in my life, eh? I had to go to the corner store and get me a couple of Mickeys. I'm drink myself to death over here watching this goddamn hockey game. You know, the Panthers, there's nothing going on with the Panthers, so I'm going to go watch the hockey game and drink me a couple of Micks. So fucking A.
I'm from
What the fuck am I
Canada.
supposed to be watching this hockey game, eh? The worst. Keep pounding.
Where's the throw up sign off? He slammed a couple of bootleggers, probably. The Hurricanes are off their game, and it's just it's tough to win on the road. It is. I mean, I think the Rangers are a good team, man. They got a good goalie. They got a great goalie. That's the end of that. And where the hell is my favorite player just missing in action all damn season? Natchez. Good God, if he doesn't do something and use that big awesome body and be like an old next Eric Lindros, I'm so disappointed. He's in a sophomore slump. So yeah, tough for the Canes. We got to get back to PNC. And what's really neat about this, guys, is PNC. Here, a little dovetail this to a Carolina Panthers discussion. PNC Arena and the Carolina Hurricanes have the best home ice, they have the best home environment out of all North Carolina sports teams.
I could probably agree with that.
I mean, it's all Hurricane fans. They don't even allow you to buy out-of-state people to buy tickets. How cool is that? For the playoffs, they said, nope, you have to show your residency in North Carolina to buy a ticket. That's dope. I think that's cool. I mean, they have, and even people across the country and the nation are starting to recognize how awesome it is. But here's the fun thing about that is it's really easy for a place that seats 20,000 indoors, very small, to get rocking. Mm-hmm. You know, is that when you have a big open air stadium and you put 80,000 people in, it's still hard to generate that kind of crazy environment. But you put a smaller, like we're all on top of each other, that like the angle of it, it's inside. It's a easy kind of environment to really get thumping quick. So, all right, 252-228-5098.
What's up, C3 Panthers Nation? It's Anthony. And
hey,
man,
good name.
After watching these OTAs today, I've been tweeting a lot on Twitter. The first thing I want to say is, if Corral beats out Sam Darnold, take the job and run with it, okay? Our season is it's really gonna show what we need to do at the quarterback position if we don't go after Jimmy or Baker. If Sam Darnold stays with the job, then, you know, we need to draft a quarterback next year, because if Matt Corral cannot even beat out Sam Darnold, then we got an issue. But the best part is we took Corral in only the third round. So it's not like he's going to be a first round bust or anything like that. And I know a lot of Panthers fans don't want this. Listen, man, personally for me, I'm a huge Baker Mayfield fan, like just of the person. And I think Cleveland did him dirty after turning around the franchise, bringing them to the playoffs, creating a new culture. I feel like he will be a good 1-year mentor for Matt Corral, just because I don't see Sam Darnold teaching Corral anything that he can already know. I mean, there's tweets coming out saying like, oh, well, Sam still looks like a project quarterback, this and that. It's like, I mean, guys, come on, man. How long are we going to save the waters for this dude before it sinks? I mean, he really hasn't proved anything. And the last thing I want to say, for all the people that say Baker and Sam have identical stats, that is not true at all. In 10 more starts, I think Baker has than Darnold. He still posts up better averages, even if Darnold was to play those 10 games. So in reality, I just want to say I don't think anything can get worse from Darnold, and that's why many of these Panther fans and maybe even the Panthers are hesitant to take a shot on another QB just because Sam Darnold didn't work out the way they wanted to.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's just my opinion, guys. Keep pounding. Appreciate everything you do. C3 Panthers fans, I'll tune in this Friday. Keep pounding.
Keep pounding.
Thanks, Anthony.
Awesome
Good call,
man.
I want to just briefly touch on this mentor conversation. First, the idea is right. Is like Sam Darnold needs to mentor himself first, right? Before he starts thinking about mentoring anyone else, right? Like he hasn't even done anything. And maybe that means he is a backup, destined to be a backup quarterback. And, those who can't do, what do? We teach. So kind of the worst thing you can tell it hurts a teacher's soul. It does. It's so mean, but it is kind of true in some ways. And that's why like Chris Sims is really good about talking about being a quarterback, but not being
a quarterback.
But there is not, where is ever this mentorship in the NFL? It's non-existent. There is like you find me an example of that, and it kind of goes back to that quote. Is like, remember when we lost, he said, "Is show me a loser, and I'll show you a loser," or something like that. Mm-hmm. Is that like, give me an example? Aaron Rodgers won't even give the damn playbook to the backup quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Why do you think? Why do you think the who is the guy? He used to play for ECU. Ben Kirk plays so much Madden. That's the only way he could get access to the damn Green Bay playbook. What did Tom Brady do to mentor anybody along the way? When did you ever hear about Drew Brees like coaching up another quarterback or something? Give me an example of this mentor quarterback. Brett Favre hated Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers hated Love. Where is it? Where is the mentor thing? Unless it's just some old vet that's been bouncing around the league, who's in the twilight of his career, and he's on a team with a young quarterback that's destined to be the starter anyway.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's why I had the biggest issue with sitting the quarterback, because I get like the argument is learning the NFL speed and the game, but like you're not playing with the first strings in practice. You're not playing against NFL competition. You're virtually just getting a really good seat and getting the inside track on the playbook.
Salesman said we aren't doing shit until we get Rule out of here. Shout out to the Den mom, Susan Dean. I know she's had some knee surgeries and stuff, so she has been like not staying up as late. But she'll be back with us. Every now and then she'll drop in and say something to me. She listens to Pirate Radio every Friday, and every Friday she puts up one comment immediately when the show starts, and it's just #Fire Matt Rule. I think she was spotted at the cookout recently. I saw this on Reddit. This is somebody put this picture. This is a car in cookout. It's Fire Matt Rule. I thought that was funny. So there you go, Salesman. It's either Salesman or Susan Dean right there. But we'll see. How we need Sam. Sam Darnold. One of the things I thought that was interesting about the press conference today too is that Matt Rule goes, well, like we're bringing in this new offense, but all these concepts are, there's nothing really new in the NFL. It's like they're NFL concepts. But then it was funny. You heard Sam Darnold say, he's like, every offense I've ever been in has been completely different.
Mm-hmm.
So he was talking about having to burn and mentally burn the old playbooks and now learn these, so
yeah,
we'll see.
What's crazy to me, man? It's like these people, like a lot of these Panther fans are so jaded that they refuse to even let themselves get excited about this season, about Matt Corral. It's like, when you even start to show your excitement online about Matt Corral, obviously you're going to have the people that agree with you and are also excited. But then you also have this subsection of Panther fans that it's like, oh, you're asking for too much. You're putting unreasonable expectations on them and blah, blah, blah. It just shows you how jaded a lot of Panther fans have become. Listen, I have no problem telling you, I have found myself daydreaming a number of times in recent days about Matt Corral wearing that number 9 behind this beast-ass offensive line, just chucking the football downfield on these incredible explosive plays. Like, why couldn't that happen to us, man?
Mm-hmm.
Why couldn't that happen to us? And also, I was thinking about this the other day, too. We're all very impressed with Scott Fitterer and, how he's built the team in a short time being here. He did the same thing in Seattle with another late-round quarterback and Russell Wilson.
Stop.
What are you stopping about? How is that wrong? How is that not a parallel?
He didn't do that just because he was there. This is like the whole thing is like, oh, Joe Brady was part of the New Orleans Saints
a part of it,
offense.
wasn't he?
No, he didn't do shit. He just sat in the corner. What I'm not saying is I'm not saying that Scott Fitterer wasn't some sort of contributor in the organization, but let's not act like when you are a third, fourth level type exec or scout, you're the guy building the team. No. And I'm not saying like what is like, let's try to find the middle on this, Cody, is that he was around an organization that had a successful moment of building an organization that way, and he was part of it. But you can't say he did that. Come on.
I mean, listen, you're taking it too literal. I'm saying that he was a part of a process that saw something very similar work out. That they saw a very talented, albeit undersized quarterback fall into the later rounds, and they decided, yeah, he has all the identifiable markers of a franchise quarterback. And by the way, even if he didn't pull the trigger on Russell Wilson, I'm sure having been in that room that did helped him in his experience now that he actually is in command,
right,
to take that same chance.
Now, I like that, and I like the comparison to Russell Wilson. And I'm not a draft guru enough to like a comp person, so I don't know if it's like, I'm not saying a comparable like place. I'm not trying to say that, but what I am talking about is what was arguably the better or best quarterback prospect of that class that year, falling under the shroud of draft suspicion about their size or something that kept them back. Russell Wilson was the top quarterback that year, but oh no, we can't go with that because of these reasons. And that's kind of what Matt Corral kind of fell into. He was the top rated quarterback prior to the start of the 2021 season in college. Kenny Pickett had his best year out of a 3-year consistent run. So he kind of was number 2, battling back and forth, and because he had a more successful year last year, it kind of catapulted him over Corral. And then you had the Malik Willis. There's always that name that skyrockets.
Mm-hmm.
So if we go back 2 years ago, this is the number 1 player we're thinking 2 years down the road, right? Like he's going to be a prospect. So I like that. I like the potential there that offers. And it also is, like you said, just to going back to the pessimism of the internet, Cody. It's like, that's what the internet's for, though. The internet's for to shit on everything. Like, that's like the whole point. So, like, you can't even be overwhelmed by that in the conversation, because think about this. If you draft, they're the same people that are saying, well, there's a reason Matt Corral's a 3rd round pick. that he isn't as good at, and you're putting these too high expectations. They're also the people that say, don't take a risk on a first round quarterback.
Yeah.
It's like there actually is just no a lot of those people are the same people.
Can I say two things to this? One of the thing Cody said a moment ago about Vitter being involved with the Russell Wilson and all that stuff. I mean, I don't know how involved he was. I doubt it was that much at all. But that's like saying if you're in the gas station with somebody who buys a winning lottery ticket that you're a lottery expert. And two, Matt Corral. Oh man. Oh yeah. When did it become unfair to ask a quarterback who's played his entire life at a high level to draft him, pay him millions of dollars? When did it become unfair to ask him to be a starting quarterback? We're not asking him to win the Super Bowl. Even if he has a bad season, I understand. But why do people say it's unfair to draft a quarterback and start him? Like, how is that unfair? We drafted you for this position and we're going to pay you for this position.
Name another.
It seems only fair that you play this position.
Yeah, name another position where it's unfair to start.
Exactly.
If you get drafted, like that doesn't happen. Like if you're
well, it is the most important position.
But it's what you went into the NFL to get drafted as a quarterback. Like, you didn't say, well, I want to be a quarterback, but if they'll draft me as a wide receiver, I'll do that. No, you drafted. Right. You went to play as you knew that going in, that it's one of the toughest positions. I don't know. It just seems weird.
I think that another thing too is we can get too caught up on when you were drafted being the ceiling of your capability, right? Is that not? And what I want to say, and I said this a few weeks ago, is not all third round picks are the same,
right?
And Matt Corral was picked in the third, and so was Will Grier. I don't think the thought process of what those players could be is anywhere in the same conversation, right? Is like 100%. I think that Will Grier is at best a third round pick and at best a backup quarterback, and maybe potentially could stun you and come out and play and become a starter for a year or two. Like, that is it. But right now I see the same third round pick with Matt Corral, and the idea is this guy is a future starter in this league and a guy that you believe you found like not a diamond in the rough. I saw somebody bought at a Goodwill. This was crazy the other day. I saw this story. They bought a statue, like a Roman bust and it was from Pompeii, and it actually turned out to be like 2,000 years old or something, or what I'm saying, like and it was like at a Goodwill in Texas. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't buy like, is that you're thinking you have something that you got an insanely good value for. I think is with Matt Corral. Right. That's what I would hope. Not all draft picks are the same. Let's go to the next call.
What's up, C3? It's Noah here.
What's up, Noah?
I just want to say, let's go. Let's keep pounding. I know there's some talk about who's going to be our new quarterback, who's going to take the job position. Some rumors of they're still trying to get Baker Mayfield. OTA start this week. Can't wait to see that. Yeah, I mean, this world is going very crazy. We can get a moment of silence for all those kids that lost their lives today in that school shooting. That's just absolutely crazy. Stupid, but yeah, keep pounding.
Noah bringing the wisdom always.
Dude, Noah.
What
Noah
actually
and
happened?
Connor, they're so mature for their ages, man.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. What happened? I saw something about it, but once I saw the headline, I was like, I don't even want to read about it.
It's last time I read, it was like 15 kids, and this is an elementary school, so 7 to 10 years old.
Yeah, who was it a kid or an adult that did
it was
the
a senior?
It was, I've heard it was 18-year-old Hispanic guy and apparently one teacher is dead, and I've seen as many as 14 kids dead, and apparently there's a whole lot more that are still unidentifiable and are still missing, and parents are still like wondering where their kids are.
Jeez. And we just had the thing in Buffalo too.
Yeah, man.
Like, God. And as a parent, well, first my kids going to high school next year. It's wild. It's like and my little girl's going to my firstborn girl, my middle child, she's going to middle school, and then they're just growing up. We always take things for granted, like until we lose them. It's like kind of like you don't know what you have. It's like any good I'm sure there's a lot of people that have been divorced, and they thought, you just come out of this, and then you're looking back and you're like, man, I didn't appreciate what I really had at the moment. Your health. This is why your health is always like that. Is like you don't sit there and all day be thankful about your health when you're healthy. But when you're unhealthy, you realize like how
important it is.
Yeah. And
you take it for granted.
Yeah. One of the things that for me, that I'm a routine person, like I like normalcy. And what I mean by that is like, that's why I love, I love being a teacher at a college. It's like the semester has the same rhythm. My students laugh at me because I don't really know what day it is. I just know it's either Monday, Wednesday, or Tuesday, Thursday, right? Like I don't really keep, I don't know which one of the days is, but it's just like, I know I got these classes on these days, it's just this time. I go and do this every day. I go do this every day at this time. And it's, when your life sucks is when it's all jacked up, when abnormal crap happens. And you think about this is like the best thing you could do is take your kids to school and pick them up and then go cook dinner and just have a regular, wonderful, wonderfully uneventful day. So it's awful to think of not only the people that have lost their lives in these moments, but the people that love them, that have to whatever the right word is, description for living through this horrifically abnormal kind of and it's just contrary to like the natural order of events. That's why it was so hard for a parent to see a child die. It's like one thing when so my wife is at a funeral, she left for a friend's funeral, her mother died unexpectedly, but it was still the mother, and like older, right? I mean, see what they just didn't expect her, but it's different. Like when you're somebody like the child passing before the parent, it's an unnatural order of events. Not that it doesn't happen, but God, it's so awful. I wish I wouldn't even hurt. I wish I didn't even ask what happened. 252-228-5098.
Hey guys, it's Corral that makes them howl, aka Joey the Blind Panther. I have something that I gotta respond to about with you guys saying that about sitting Matt Corral for a year. I would not do that behind Sam Darnold, and here's why. Because Sam Darnold's main problem is in his head. Are you guys sure that he's going to be in a position to not be a bad influence on Matt Corral? Because I don't know. I honestly don't know with him. He's been through Adam Gase, Matt Rule with nobody but yes men on his staff, and incompetent as hell. That's why they gave him the Joe Biden treatment. And even though Patrick Mahomes sat behind Alex Smith, and you say, oh, Alex Smith was just, he's a decent quarterback. The difference between him and Sam Darnold is he was a better quarterback than Sam Darnold, which that's a low bar, but he was a leader. he had been around the league for quite a while, and he was able to, teach Patrick Mahomes. Well, Patrick Mahomes, as great as he is, he probably came that way, but he probably was able to learn a lot from Alex Smith, and I don't think Sam Darnold could teach Matt Corral an eighth of that. But I just want to leave that out there. And another thing before I go is, if we cut Sam Darnold after June 1st, would we save anything? Because that's what I would do. I would just get Cam Newton, cut Sam Darnold after June 1st, and roll with Cam if we would save any money by cutting him after June 1st. Anyway, guys. Wow.
No, I think the 5th-year option's fully guaranteed.
I think we're kind of past that at this point in time.
Well, that
we're
was
going
the
to go
whole,
forward.
That wasn't. Did you guys see the story with what they wanted to do with, or what the thoughts were with Baker Mayfield? Is that they wanted him to pay $13 or $14 million of his salary,
right?
So he really would have been a $4 million addition,
which is a pretty low number, but still maybe more. I mean, didn't Cam go and play for less for the Patriots his first year with the Patriots?
The league minimum, I think. Yeah, I think he played for.
Yeah, it wasn't a lot. It was a 3. That's funny is that, but he got $10 million for us for
exactly
2 games.
Honestly, that was his retirement fund. That's all. I mean, I'm fine. He came back and got it.
All right, let's go to the next call.
Yo, what's good? C3. It's JD84. On the whole QB room competition thing, I've been saying it for a while, or at least thinking it for a while. I feel like the best option for the team, like immediate team success, would be to bring in Cam, especially now that Nick Foles has been signed to the Colts. You bring in Cam, you know what his work ethic is. This will probably be the first time in Cam's entire career where he's actually been behind a fairly, a really good offensive line. So that in of itself would put Corral in a position where he has to wait a year. Like Cody was saying, I mean, if they feel comfortable moving forward with Sam and just the 4 guys that we have in there right now, if the guys can perform, it is what it is. Like, you might not like Sam, but you got to be rooting for the team to succeed, and you can't have Sam failing with the team to succeed. That those things are at odds with each other. So yeah, besides them bringing Cam in, I would hope to see Matt just simply beat Sam out. Like if it's close, they need to pull the trigger and let Matt go. Yeah, that's my opinion. Appreciate what y'all doing. Keep pounding.
Keep pounding.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's you guys are on kind of the right track with that. Also, Joey, the Blind Panther, the growl that makes them howl, is getting a lot of howls in the chat. They're feeling the low bar line today. I like that. Let's go to the next call.
Hey, this is White Chocolate Espresso again. I got a question. What are we going to do about the defensive end? I thought we were getting Clowney. I thought we were getting, I thought we were going to get somebody. Jason Pierre-Paul is still out there, the 9-finger man.
I didn't even know that.
There's some veterans out there. I think we need to sign somebody because we definitely need some defensive end help.
I didn't know Jason Pierre-Paul was available.
That's a good story in the NFL. That's a happy story for me of a guy that made it back. You know what I'm saying? Like he did that he lost his 5th-year option, I think, because of that, where he blew up his hand or something like that.
Yeah, he was playing with firecrackers. Yeah.
And then it was like really, you're starting to worry if he was going to be able to make it back. I mean, they were worried about his hand, there was some real questions. He played with the club that first year. I don't know if he still does, but he really went and had some success in Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a good story of somebody, I guess, kind of finding a second life in adversity. I saw Daniel Castro talk about that with Sam, remembering that Sam Darnold is 24 years old. That's the whole thing with the Matt Corral size thing for me, Cody. It's not that he's like small, but it's like, if you saw me when I was 20, you're like, God, you look like a crackhead. You know, I mean, I'm still the same height. It's just like you grow, you know, you become a man. That's you know, you're not I mean, I know that some athletes grow into these freakazoid bodies early, but not everybody does. And you got to just wonder is that, well, you don't wonder is that you Sam Darnold. Maybe we just projected too soon on him as draft scouts people and saying, here, you got to come in and do this. And like, maybe there is an opportunity. Maybe it's not here, but maybe down in his career where he becomes a backup, spends some time in the league, and then gets a second, you know, somebody gets hurt and he gets a shot and he finds kind of a life. I mean, because you think there were a lot. This is it's a more modern NFL now for us to believe that these guys are so importantly to succeed at so young. I mean, if you think of Jake Delhomme spent he was in the NFL Europe. He was an outside free agent acquisition. Then he came in and he found success. Kurt Warner was bagging groceries forever. These guys kind of a Tony Romo, right? Their best football wasn't played when they were 22.
Right.
You know, 23. So it's not unheard of. Jason Pierre-Paul. Yeah, it's defensive end. Those are good questions. All right. White chocolate espresso. Blech.
Hey guys, it's Chuck from Elizabeth City, aka Carolina Sports Guy. Got a few things tonight. Number one, I kind of look at our roster. I'm not all into this bringing in Baker Mayfield. I wouldn't be terribly disappointed if we did. But I kind of agree with the one caller who said that, you know, if Sam Darnold's here and Corral can't beat him out, or if Corral does get to play some and it doesn't look like he's ready, if we get a high draft pick again next year, we might have to throw it back at another quarterback if we can get an upgrade, a first-round, true talented quarterback. Now, as far as what we should look at right now with free agency, Tony, I agree, a linebacker first and foremost. I don't really believe the tight end position is all that. Now, I will say this. Big name or a less than stellar guy who's probably dropped off like a defensive end, a pass rushing specialist we do need. And I really think that when we start making cuts during preseason, I wouldn't be surprised to see us pick up a receiver. Just because there's so many receiver deep teams that I could see us picking up one. Now, I also want to address the situation with the Hurricanes. The reason why we've done so bad on the road, well, New York night, is because did you see the penalty minutes? It was like 26-7.
Terrible. Yeah.
That's home cooking. That's the refs. And if there's one freaking thing I can't stand about the freaking New York Rangers, they're like the damn New Orleans Saints for the Panthers. The one thing I hate about their fucking fans and that piece of shit franchise. ESPN calling the games. The announcers are sucking their pee-pees like they're the greatest thing since sliced bread. I cannot watch ESPN when it comes to covering certain teams because they just kiss their ass. And you're right, nature's a struggle. We got to find a way to win Game 5 and wrap this series up and get to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I'll take that out of here.
First, I love Chuck's call. There's so much I want to talk about. Just real quick with the Canes, you know, it's not even the problem of the home cooking. The problem is the Hurricanes can't score on the damn power play. Whenever we get a power play, we are not scoring on it. And we've had the best penalty kill all season, but one of the worst power plays all season that our team has done with. Going back, the first part of the call was, dipping back in next year for a quarterback if necessary. Isn't that the beauty, though, of not picking Matt Corral at 6?
Yes, and I was actually going to ask that. I'm trying to look it up. I'm trying to look it up right now. But are contracts different? I know the first rounders are 4 years guaranteed with a 5th-year option. After that, is it always 4 years and a 5th-year option? Like that could work out in our favor as well if we had to go back. You know.
There's not so much sunk cost in Matt Corral. If it works, it works. If it doesn't work, you don't have to give it years and years and years to figure out, right? And there was a sort of sunk cost with the Sam Darnold for the Jets, right? Is like when you pick in the top 10, you pick that you make that pick, you better believe in it through adversity and not. But you don't have that worry. I mean, it's like, And look, we saw the Cardinals do this. I mean, they picked Rosen in the top 10, and then we're just like, you know what, we're out on this, and that was tough. That's kind of a tough thing to do.
Right.
But it's a lot easier to do with a 3rd and 4th round pick.
My fear,
not saying that we have to. Not saying that we have to or see it, but go ahead.
My fear is that we go this entire year with either Sam Darnold as the starter or a Baker Mayfield or what have you, just whoever, or hurt Cam Newton, whatever. And then we have another year where Matt Rule fails to give our young guys the opportunity that they need to be a good football player.
I think he's played young players, though, a lot.
Yeah, I'm talking specifically about offense.
Say DeAndre Brown.
On offense, Brady Christensen and Deontay Brown. My fear is that we won't have seen enough of Matt Corral by the end of, at the end of this year, we won't have seen enough of Matt Corral to actually give a proper evaluation on whether or not we should move on from him. Right. That's my fear.
My only question.
Go ahead, Greg.
Well, I say my question to that is you're saying that Matt Rule, I can't believe I'm defending Matt Rule or attempting to defend Matt Rule here, doesn't play to young talent. Other than Brady Christensen and Deontay Brown, who else have we drafted young that we expected to start and play? Hasn't he played? Just out of curiosity. And I hate trying to take the defensive side.
Because it's not true. Yeah, because it's not true. He's played a lot of young players.
I can't think of anybody else.
In fact, it was like the opposite of
I mean,
Ron
Turgos Matos, I would have liked to have seen gotten some more snaps.
Well, he was hurt.
Yeah, he got hurt last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he was hurt. And then, but again, Deontay Brown and Brady Christensen are legit.
Tired of it.
No, I get that. I like I said, I hate defending Matt Rule, but I also want to be fair, and I don't want to label him as somebody who doesn't start young talent when I personally don't see a lot of evidence that other than those two players.
You don't have to worry about your. Can I soothe your fears, Cody, completely on this?
Please.
There is no way that we're not going to give Matt Corral enough evaluation time and still be in the top 10 pick, right? So here's the thing. The only way that is going to happen is that we have a season that is middle of the road or better, and you ended up just playing Sam Darnold to the end. But then you're going to be picking outside. If Sam Darnold is a starter in week 17, that means we actually had some success.
Well, so,
is that like if we're bad enough to pick in the top 5 or the top 10, you will see Matt Corral by that point. And you'll get, you know what I'm saying? Like, it won't be like he didn't have a shot because we stunk, and he will get a shot at that point.
Are we in a position where if we end up winning 6 or 7 games, and that seems like actually 6 or 7 would be, let's say we win 9 games.
Yeah, we're not in.
It puts us at like 15th picking. Yeah. Is that going to benefit us by any means? Like,
you won't get the quarterback then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Do we get any benefit from winning 9 games this year at all? And I hate to say that out, and I'm not saying I want to tank, but like,
yeah, well, I mean, you would actually. I mean, if you think that you're getting better as a team, like you're stepping towards from 9 to 12 wins or 7 to 11.
I can see that.
But if we win 3, then you do really have to. If you're picking in the top 5, you have to start that. You have to say nothing's off the table, including picking a quarterback, even if you feel like you didn't give Matt. But if you only win 3 games, Matt Corral is going to have started 8 of them.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I mean, like, you will. If we are a 3-win team next year, you will see a good share of Matt Corral. Why wouldn't you? And if anything, like, that would be the death knell if you didn't. Is like if you're in week 13 and you're 1-12,
yeah,
you shouldn't be trying to tank necessarily, but you should be trying to get this guy some game experience to figure out. And that was actually the problem with last year's team, is that we didn't see. There were some moments to evaluate. If anything, Cody, where you're right about the not playing the young players, wasn't because he hasn't played some of them that he believes in, but there were moments that, like, you realized that this was evaluation time.
Yeah.
And that was the Brady Christensen problem, is not that you didn't play him at left. It was just when the season was gone, it became evaluation time.
Yeah. And by the way, if we have an opportunity to draft Bryce Young, don't want to do it. Don't want to do it.
All right.
Go with Matt Corral over him, man. It has to be great.
You ever think about doing that, drafting a player you don't need just because he's a great player as a trade piece?
No, I don't think.
Would that be a smart NFL move?
Nah.
Don't worry. If we're drafting in the top 5, we need a quarterback, bro. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. Next.
Not Bryce Young.
Hey guys, it's the growl that makes him howl, aka Joey the Blind Panther. And I haven't done this in a while. I did it like 3 years ago when we fired Ron Rivera. I made a song parody, but I got another one about Matt Rule. Because there's still a part of me that wants to fire Matt Rule, even though I'm a bit more optimistic now that he's been given the Biden treatment. But part of me still wants to fire him, so here it goes. Send Matt Rule's ass back to Texas. He used to be the king, but now we're reeling. Oh, send Matt Rule's ass back to Texas. I wish somebody known he sucked back in 2020. Wow, wow, wow.
All my exes live in Texas. All right. Just check. Oh, gosh. They won't stop calling. 2 more to go. 2 more. Oh, they're short ones. So, let's see. They're just new ones. Repeat offender.
Hey, yo, it's White Chocolate Espresso again, a.k.a. Cody's daddy. Cody boy.
You're such a...
We're gonna go get your papa a beer. God damn, I've been waiting on a goddamn night for my beer.
Look here.
And where's my fucking beer, god damn it?
Yo, man.
Anyway.
Better watch out. I'll smack a South Carolina fan like a shit.
Oh, and Tony. By the way, I almost forgot.
The drunk Panther. All right, so those are the calls for now. That's the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Every Tuesday night, we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. We've been talking about OTAs, Matt Rule, Sam Darnold. We'll be back here on Friday with the Friday Free for All. A lot more content will be coming down the pike throughout, shorts and different, like you do some other kind of impromptu things. But right now we are in kind of the doldrums. This OTAs, I think, is only a few days, and then that will be off. Then we'll have a month go by before anything, and so really no news. So we'll just be kind of on that standard schedule from here. But that when football is cooking, even when it's training camp, we'll be up here all the time, getting after it and having fun. We got to do our last segment unless you guys have anything else. And I think that's all I got. And that is our ice up picks this week. And that's where we tell someone to ice up, toughen up to get it together. It's our homage to Steve Smith. Everything is fair game to ice up from so your picks. You guys I got a couple of short, funny ones tonight. You got anything, Cody?
Nothing major. I'll go first. I don't have anything to play. I'm watching and I never watch basketball, dude. I'm talking never. It's only this time of year when I'll watch the NBA Finals, if I'm being honest. So I put it on Golden State and the Dallas Mavericks, and apparently they had to stop the game because the roof was leaking so bad on the top of the stadium that they had to actually get someone up in the rafters to patch the hole and wipe the floor. And it zoomed in on Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban, he's the owner of the Mavericks. He's on Shark Tanks. And they zoom in on his face, and he's looking around like he's just so pissed off and embarrassed on national television. He's like just scowling, looking around and shit. He's all grumpy. I thought that was hilarious that he's this multi-billionaire and he has a basketball team in the arena, but he still has a janky ass stadium that's leaking all over everyone. And he still has that moment of fuck. you know what I mean? Like, he's a billionaire and he still has that moment of my shit is looking raggedy as fuck on national television. So I think that's funny. So to Mark Cuban, Ice up.
Ice up.
Go ahead, Greg.
Okay, mine's kind of fun. I'm going North Carolina Education Lottery. I'm gonna ice them up. One, because they take too much of my money, and two, I'm no genius financially or just in general at all, but I'm can try to think of different ways to boost economy and everything. And the lottery is always funny to me because, like the Powerball, okay, it's North Carolina Powerball. It starts at 40 million. Like when somebody wins, the next day it starts over at 40 million. Okay. Then it adds up until anybody across the country that buys a ticket can win, and they can win $1 billion, however high it goes. Okay. Why wouldn't you just have a drawing every day for $1 million? Okay. And make it only for residents of North Carolina. You can win once a year. So that means residents of North Carolina, you would have 365 new millionaires every year. And guess what? That 10 million that's left over from the 30 you don't use originally can go right back into schools right there. Plus, imagine how much money you'll make on people buying daily tickets. Does this sound crazy to y'all? Like that sounds like a great idea, right? You'd have $1 million winner every day. Yeah, it is kind of like Keno, but I mean, like, why start it at 40 million and let anybody in the country win it? Like, build our local economy in North Carolina, do it like this.
Right.
And say, I'm telling you, it would just work out so much better. So I don't know why. I guess the system, and there's probably a lot more about it that I don't know. That's why this makes sense to me. It probably doesn't make sense overall. But as far as I know it makes more sense my way. So ice up.
Shout out to Keno. I'm not ever a winner on scratch off tickets, lottery things, but I hit the four. I've been playing the 4 numbers, right? So that's like the best odds. If you hit all 4, you get $75 on a $1 ticket.
Nice.
But then you do the multi. So I hit all 4 numbers on a 10-time multiplier.
Nice.
It's like the best. It's like the best you can do.
Yeah,
the best you can
awesome.
do on a 4-number ticket. It was, it was fun. It's nice to win. All right, so here goes my first ice up pick. I I'm not a big making fun of people's appearance person, but this one I could not help. I mean, I just could not help but giggle at this. This man's haircut, bro. This is a police officer in.
Let go, man.
Why is his head melting?
Cato Parish Sheriff's Office, and he has a full buzz cut, but a straight comb down. It almost looks like they're drawn on these hairs.
Dude, it looks like the Latino chicks that like paint eyeliner on their eyebrows.
He's got bangs.
It looks like he did that, but on his head.
He's got a bowl cut in the front and a buzz cut in the back.
So my next one goes to this. I saw this truck driver got hung up on one of those like little yellow things. Look at this.
Oh no.
That's gonna cost you.
Oh, it's slowing up. Come on. Why is it freezing up? Anyway, this truck driver ends up.
Send me the link. I'll play. Can you send it to me in DM? I'll try and play it.
Yeah. Hold on. Hey, hold on. Hey,
I'm giving a pre-ice up to the Mavericks if they blow this lead. They were up by like 34.
And by the way, if they win tonight, that'll be the first time in history that an NBA team has ever come back from 0-3, right?
No, they'll just be winning game 1. They have to win the next 4 to make that happen. But I mean, usually when a team is down 3-0, they generally win at least the last game. But Dallas should win this game.
Yeah, send it on. Oh no, this will work.
Let's see if this will get. If you can get this up. This truck driver had a tough day, bro. And I've seen some truck drivers do some. I mean, look, what a tough job. I would hate to drive a truck in a city. Like one of those big eights. Like, I mean, what a awful, awful job that would be. Look at this.
Oh, gosh. And he kept trying to go. Why?
Till the whole rear axle came off.
And then you're driving.
How does he not know? How the hell does he not know that he just ripped off his fucking rear axle?
Man, what
That's
do
the
you
guy
really
who just
do
got
at that
fired
point?
or just turned in his notice and was like,
Yeah,
"Fuck
it doesn't give
you know?
a fuck.
Yeah.
He just does it. He's over it, dude.
Hey, when you get back, you're fired." "Oh, really? Okay." Like,
All
I
right.
already quit, stupid.
So ice up to that dude's haircut and ice up for just tripling down on that pylon there. And shout out to that concrete pylon that just lived through all of that. Whoever put that up took a
The chat says that's Ralph Wiggums from Simpsons. The Simpsons police officer guy, that's exactly who that looks like. The haircut.
Oh, the guy. That's funny. That's awesome. All right. That's the C3 Panthers podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. Every Tuesday night, we're live at 9 p.m. You can find us on Spotify, iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher. Go leave us a review, smash the thumbs, get in the conversation by calling in at 252-228-5098. Jump in that chat room. The chat room is lit as usual. Get in the comments afterwards. Let us know what you think about these things going forward. I want to thank the people in the chat, people that gave us their time tonight, and especially my co-host tonight for their generosity with their time. Thank you, Cody. Thank you, Greg. Cody, starting to work. You got draft tech stuff going on. Tell us about this. What are you now, a Charlotte Football Club fan?
No, well, we didn't really even talk about it, but there was that whole news about the Panthers using the turf for Chelsea FC and Charlotte FC. They're using grass rather, but they're not using the turf for the football games.
Whoa!
And for Charlotte
Holy
FC.
cow.
You didn't hear about that? Oh, that was
I thought that was like a joke. Like, I mean, I thought we just got rid of the grass. You're saying they really put grass back in?
No, so Chelsea football team is going to play Charlotte FC, and they're not allowed to play on turf. So Tepper is having grass rolled into the stadium for one game. Yeah.
Wow. That's insane.
So, yeah, we talked about that on the free-for-all. I had forgotten all about that. Sometimes I forget what we talk about on the free-for-all and then don't talk about on Tuesday. So,
all right, Greg, what you got going on? I know you got a lot of work going down.
Yeah, jump just like where they can find me.
Yeah, and I know the Super Civil Servants podcast is rebooting in different ways. So tell us what you're working on.
We are, man. That's actually what I was gonna say. Is you can normally find me at the Bet Day 52, but right now I've been working on. We just passed 4 years on Super Civil Servants, and we are just going through kind of a reboot. Going to happen this Friday. I've got all the graphics and everything else up. It's gonna be pretty cool. New segments for the show, and we're gonna be geeks chasing squirrels. So because we tend to chase a lot of squirrels in that show, which. I kind of got from this show. My show is based off this. My show is based off this show, so
hey, we're doing
long form ridiculous fun.
Yes.
Long form ridiculous fun. Cody, you're with Draft Tech, and Friday night. Tell them how they can be a part of our.
Yeah, man. Every Friday at 7 p.m. you can join this show, be a part of the C3 Friday Free for All, where you can join the show, be a part of the action every Friday at 7 p.m. You can join via StreamYard, and it's a good time, man. Every Friday at 7. And check me out on Twitter at Cody Lack, CODYLAC. I'm saying controversial shit and pissing people off about football. So,
all right, take us out of here, my man.
Well, real quick, I wanted to say, just putting it out there, Geeks Chasing Squirrels, C3 Panthers podcast mashup any given Sunday.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh yeah, dude, I'm down. That's one of my favorite football movies ever. Dude.
There we go. That's why it's going to be a great show right there. Two different things. I like it.
I've got such a fun fact for you, Greg, on this.
Yeah.
So I was talking about the any given Sunday, and I was talking on the radio about your Cody's terrible takes. Like when he was talking about that, I said, well, we were arguing over any given Sunday and how terrible this football movie is and whatever. And I said every one of these like early 2000 you need the steroid guy, the crazy steroid dude has to be part of a football movie. So one of the listeners that was listens to radio show sends he goes, crazy fact, because his favorite football movie is The Program. Right, you remember, and that was the one where they laid down in the road and stuff like that. It was like, but there was a crazy steroid dude in The Program. And I said and he goes, fun fact, crazy steroid guy from the program is the same crazy steroid dude in Any Given Sunday, just 8 years later. Same actor.
Really?
Same dude.
I thought
Yeah.
that was LT in Any Given Sunday. It's been a long time since
No,
I've seen that.
he was
Yeah, I
he
thought
was
that-
in that, but he wasn't the steroid dude. He wasn't
Okay.
the offensive lineman Megadeth guy or whatever.
oh,
the
that's
white
right. Yeah,
guy,
yeah, I
and
know
he's
you're talking about now, yeah.
Madman, and he was in the program, something Madman, and like it's like they just call him up.
Yeah,
you
whenever
need
they need a
steroid
juice
guy.
head. Yeah.
Yeah,
No, we definitely
it's
need to do that, man, because I need to rewatch that movie. Dude, I'm telling you, that's one of my all-time fucking favorite
Oh
movies.
god, you're gonna go
dude.
back and go like, wow, I like this movie.
No,
All right,
dude, you have
to
take
no
us out.
idea.
Here.
All
us
right,
outta here.
until next time, Panther Nation, keep pounding.
Keep pounding.